How is it going, YouTube? Thank you to everyone who showed up for the first chapter. It means the world to me. Here for the second chapter of Silent Dreams. Going to focus more on this story monthly, having at least 2 updates a month, while Hell of a Night will have one. The final slot is leaning toward Wildflowers. However, we shall see. There is still a poll to run, and there is a chance that Eternal Dreams, or a Foxy Butler, will end up overtaking it, possibly. Now don't forget to leave a like and comment if you enjoyed this chapter. And if this is your kind of content, subscribe for more. On to the show. Jovial laughter bombarded her senses. Loud voices bickered below, making deals while gorging on delicious food. Business partners, friends in high places, potential political rivals. Trivia hated this. It was miserable. Why did this always happen this way? Why was she locked up here when there were people downstairs? People with children, children whom she could interact with. Instead, she was shunned and kept in her room. Why was she shunned? Kept away from others, unable to communicate with others. Did Mom and Papa think that lowly of her? If it were only because of what happened to her window, Trivia could understand. But this was a pattern. It happened so many times before. And while her door was not locked and she could leave her room if she chose, Trivia knew the consequences of doing so. She didn't think he could punish her any further, but given the lingering threat he left, she didn't want to take that chance. Trivia sneezed, huddling underneath her warmest blanket on her bed as she gazed out her broken window. It was freezing tonight. Dark, too. Should she flip on her lamp? Reaching over to her nightstand to flip on the light, Trivia scowled. She could see the steam from the meal one of the maids brought and set on her nightstand being quenched by the cold. She sneered at it before turning away, disgusted by it. She didn't want to partake in their leftovers. She wanted to be down there with other people, enjoying herself. Was that too much to ask? Trivia hung her head, retracting her hand from the lamp, leaving it off. The freezing cold amplified the sensation of loneliness. She felt as hollow as the all-consuming shadows that swallowed her in their grasp. How she wished to be somewhere else, anywhere else, with someone to enjoy her company. A knock on her door caused Trivia to leap to her feet, brushing off the blanket she was snuggled into. Someone was knocking at her door? Who could it be? If it were one of the maids or butlers they had on the premises, they would knock, announce their presence, and come in. Mama would do the same. Papa would not have given her the courtesy, but the person who knocked remained silent? Was it a guest? Did they think this was a bathroom? Trivia nervously and tepidly approached the door. What should she do? If it were a guest and they discovered her in a room, how would Mom and Papa react? Would they be mad? Would they understand? What to do? Before Trivia could make her mind up, the door swung open, nearly catching her at how forcefully it was pushed. She was barely able to take a step back and avoid being smacked by her door, and she was being mocked for it. Trivia's eyes sharpened, and she glowered at the individual silently laughing in the doorway. It was Neo again. "What do you want?" Neo scowled, crossing her arms over her coat and vest, wearing her warm adventure clothes to beat the cold. Neo only smirked at first. Trivia's scowl deepened, using all of her willpower not to fall for her friend's bait. Was she seriously trying to get her into trouble? Again? Trivia's eyes sparkled upon observing Neo pull out an object from her white jeans, a particular object she had fantasized about stealing many times over, walking out the front door with it and spending a lucrative amount of lien. Papa's wallet! Trivia recoiled, stared. She was both mesmerized upon seeing it and terrified. Oh, there were so many things she wanted. However, if Papa ever found out she did such a thing, and she didn't think things could get worse than they currently were, Neo beckoned Trivia to follow, rushing toward the nearest set of stairs. Trivia panicked. What was her friend doing? Everyone was downstairs. Was she trying to get her into more trouble? She had to stop her. Trivia bolted from her room, desperately chasing after a dancing Neo as she descended the stairs. Trivia's heart raced. How did no one see Neo do this? Would they see her? Ugh, she had to take the chance. If she didn't stop her friend, she was escaping. Trivia blinked, feeling the bitter cold once more. The door? When did she... Feeling the soft pellets of snow gently touch her skin, Trivia glanced up and gazed at the night sky, the shattered moon barely able to project through the clouds. She froze at the scene, never having experienced this before, at least by herself. She was outside alone, with no supervision. This was a dream come true. Wincing at feeling a weight smack her in the chest, Trivia grasped the object to see it was her father's wallet. She glanced over at a smug Neo, who pointed beyond the gate, gesturing for her to move forward. Trivia blinked several times. It took a moment for everything to register. But when it did, a sly grin graced her lips, and she silently giggled, skipping toward the gate. A never-before-felt sense of freedom washed over her as she slid between the bars and stood outside the confines of their mansion. She was free. Oh, this would be a night to remember, a night for the ages. It was time to spend like no tomorrow. What was this bizarre place? Where the hell was he? Nothing made sense to Naruto. He felt something was strange when he awoke in an unfamiliar room, but the more he saw, the more he felt lost, stupefied at seeing things he had never seen before. Were those cars? He had only heard about those and read about them in magazines. They didn't look like anything he had seen before. They were so much more advanced than the ones shown in the magazines. They were also noisy as heck. Hurt his ears. And why were there so many? He thought only the richest of the rich people, like the Fire Lord, could purchase a car. But here they were so plentiful. It didn't make sense. Many other questions arose as Naruto explored, attempting to figure out where he was. Luckily, he had a little time to figure it all out. Naruto was confident that he had given the shinobi who was chasing him earlier the slip. He was still pretty sore, but felt way better than he did before. Wasn't at his best, but at least he could move properly. Mostly. His leg was still a little gimped up. His chest still hurt. Naruto grimaced at the thought of his friend. Sasuke. Why? Shut up, bird! Naruto glared, staring up at the peculiar streetlight to see another crow stalking him. The damn birds were common around this place. It was like the 10th one he had seen. Or was it? Nah. Didn't seem like a summon, not that he knew enough about other summons. His only experiences were from Gamakichi, Gamabunta, and Pakun, and they were intelligent enough to talk. This one, Naruto shook his head, ignoring it for now, feeling safe. It wasn't like that could be the shinobi using a transformation technique. Just because you could transform into a bird didn't mean you could suddenly fly. That was something Naruto had learned the hard way. Had to be a coincidence. Gah, it's cold! Naruto shivered, glancing around for any signs of a clothing store. He was so in the moment that he didn't think to grab anything of his before leaving. He was just in the hospital garb. He didn't have his pouch with all his possessions and weapons. Naruto was going to have to sneak into the hospital later and reacquire his gear. Couldn't leave without it. But getting clothes was a first. Much as he loved his jumpsuit, how tattered it was wouldn't help him stay warm. He could get it fixed later. Naruto glowered. Why was it so cold here? It felt like winter, but he knew better than that. Winter had just ended, and it was well into spring. Why was this place so cold? This place better not be like the land of snow, and it was a permafrost area, though at least he helped solve that issue in the land of snow, along with a litany of other things. Bird, would you shut the... Oh! Naruto yelled at the annoying flying abomination before noting where it was perched. He could not read a word of the damnable sign, but he clearly understood what the shirt symbol meant. This was a clothing store. That solves one problem, Naruto chuckled, scratching his head sheepishly while squinting at the sign. There was still the problem that he couldn't read any sign or understand anyone in this place, but he would deal with that later. He was cold and... Oh, son of... Gama-chan is with my gear! Naruto palmed his temples and loudly groaned, unsure of what to do next. However, pursing his lips, Naruto thought about it for a moment. Would having his money even matter? With all the strange things he had come across already, would it be so odd that they didn't use Ryo as the currency here? Probably not, given his luck. Just gonna have to do this the hard way. Naruto cracked his knuckles before forming the unique hand sign for his favorite technique. Sure, the Rasengan was powerful and cool, but his shadow clones were versatile. They could do so much. like causing a diversion so he could successfully sneak into the store and steal some clothes. Hopefully, they had some stuff in orange that he liked. But before he could perform the technique, his stomach rumbled so loudly it caused him to tremble. Naruto grimaced and flushed before creating a shadow clone. "This isn't my day." "Okay, clothes first, then some food. Let's go. And after that, I'll get my stuff back so we can find a way out of here." This was the best day of her life. Oh, the thrills, the chills, the spills. It had been so worth it to follow Neo outside. She had been doubting her friend, but she had come through for her when she needed her most. Now if Neo could stop constantly getting her in trouble. Whatever. Nothing was going to put a damper on this day. Not even the bus ride over here. All those creepy people staring at her on the bus after she struggled to pay for her ticket couldn't hold her back. The trip to the mall strip was well worth it. She had lost Neo at some point, but that hardly bothered Trivia. She never had so much fun in a single day. In an hour. She never could have imagined that playing arcade cabinets would be so much fun. Oh, and those little annoying brats learned never to cross Trivia Vanflay. She was the master of Arcadia fighters. She stomped them flat and took their allowances. They played themselves. She practiced every day on her scroll when she was supposed to be working on her speech tools. Probably not the best use of that time, but she wanted to have fun. And it wasn't her fault that was one of the games they let her have. Perhaps she could purchase the new game console they were displaying, convince Papa because it had a realistic driving simulator game. He did enjoy driving. Maybe that would work. Trivia shook her head while daintily skipping forward, her gaze fixated on a bookstore she had noticed earlier. Oh, what marvelous tales lie in wait in those walls. She couldn't wait to find out. Oh, how she loved to read. Her stomach rumbled and Trivia flushed. In her excitement, she had forgotten she hadn't eaten. No wonder she felt a little tired. It was time to find something good to eat, and it was probably for the best. Didn't want to try to figure out the logistics of sneaking a bag of books back home. Plus, if Trivia bought everything she wanted, it would be a hefty bag. She might not be able to carry it by herself. Now, where would she go to eat? There were so many fascinating smells at this strip mall. She didn't even know where to start. Not only were there several buildings, but there were food trucks. Should she choose the sandwich place? Fast food? BBQ? Noodles? Ice cream parlor? Trivia's eyes glistened with stars. She loved ice cream. That was the choice. But that was a dessert. Ugh. She could hear Mama and Papa berating her. She needed to have a healthy diet, spoil sports. Still, she should try something unique, something she never had before indulging in her fix. Swaying her hips back and forth, Trivia made her choice as she headed toward the closest food cart, oblivious of everyone around her. Whatever this truck had, she was eating. Then it was time for ice. Aka! Trivia stumbled, bouncing off someone she hadn't seen before. She didn't know how. The boy was wearing orange. He should have been visible as the sun. How tunneled was she on the food cart? Sorry, Trivia bowed, hoping she could convey her apology for colliding with him. The blonde boy reciprocated with a bow, chuckling nervously before saying something. Trivia couldn't understand it at all. Was he speaking a different language? Trivia tilted her head, staring at the blonde boy in confusion. That was strange. All the languages except the common tongue were ancient languages used only by a select few. And while she didn't know any better, this boy didn't seem like someone who would be imparted with such knowledge. He seemed a bit... Oh, what was he distracted by? Ugh, what was that horrible noise? Trivia screwed her nose and glanced up at the light pole to see a crow loudly cawing. She swayed her arms forward at the bird, attempting to shoo it away. The crow was unfazed and cawed again. Trivia's brow twitched. This bird was getting on her nerves. Her eyes shimmered as the bird hopped out of the way of a flying rock and cawed in annoyance. Trivia turned to the boy she bumped into, scouring the cement for pebbles and rocks to toss at the crow. That was a great plan, and it looked like fun. Picking up a rock, she joined the boy in throwing stones at the crow. He was throwing better than her, but that only spurred Trivia on further. She refused to be outdone by someone else. A wave of jealousy washed over her as the boy got the hit on the bird and it finally flew off. She wanted to. Trivia looked confused as the boy tried speaking again, but stopped midway, looking exasperated. Did he not know? How could that be? Didn't everyone? Furrowing her brow, not understanding why the boy didn't know how to speak, she lifted her hands and began to sign. Do you use sign? Could he understand sign language? Number that was naive. Hardly anyone spent time to learn. Trivia's heart skipped a beat. After a moment of watching her sign with the most perplexed expression she had ever seen, he answered, signing a crude response, but one she understood. Yes, he knew sign language. Could someone besides Mama use sign language to communicate? Oh, wondrous day. This was worthy of celebration. But how to? Trivia flushed. The blonde boy flushed. Their stomachs had simultaneously rumbled together. It was so embarrassing. But at least she knew how to celebrate the moment. Trivia grasped his hand and without hesitation, pulled him toward the nearby food stand. She silently laughed, filled with such joy and glee. Today was such a wonderful day. Nothing could ruin it. Nothing. This place kept getting stranger and stranger. It was a challenge to find his bearings in this city. Everything looked the same. It made it challenging to create mental bookmarks and determine his location in case he was running in circles. He would have used the rooftops, but Naruto feared that would leave him exposed. He wanted to try to blend it. Didn't want to be exposed just in case. However, the more he thought of it, something had hung in the back of his mind since he escaped the hospital and fled into the city, losing that shinobi. This didn't seem like a shinobi village. Everyone he came across felt like civilians. While looks were deceiving and many could be shinobi, he just didn't get that impression. It was something about how everyone moved, carried themselves. Naruto wasn't sure, but his gut feeling was that these people were, in fact, civilians, and he trusted his gut. So did that mean they were just trying to care for him? And that shinobi was just trying to stop and calm him down? Gah, this all feels like a big misunderstanding, Naruto grumbled, squinting hard and glancing around at the surroundings. This place was a little different. It reminded Naruto of a market. Given the various smells in the air, food was in this direction, so he followed his nose. While he did, Naruto mused on what he needed to do to find his way back to Konoha. He couldn't just leave the city and wander the wilderness without knowing which direction to head. Add in the element of danger with those creatures, and he was forced to look for a way in the city first. Not that he couldn't take them, he could take all of them on, but he didn't know anything about them. If there were other things like that around. There were walls around this city, so clearly they were keeping something out. Another frustration was that everyone spoke a different language from him. Naruto wasn't an idiot. He knew there were niche languages here and there. He sort of wished Sakura were here, not so she could suffer alongside him, more in having her assist him in figuring out what was going on. She was so smart, and her pink hair was so beautiful. Naruto sighed. Unfortunately, she wasn't. And every conversation so far had ended in disaster. They couldn't understand him, and Naruto had no damn clue what they were saying. There was no way to tell what they were saying. It was so damn aggravating. What was he gonna do if he couldn't communicate? Naruto had half a mind to try using the code signals Kakashi was teaching the team so that they could work silently while within each other's sight. No, that would be stupid, Naruto grumbled and shook his head, furrowing his brow and concentrating. If he could find somewhere that had a map, he could seek his way home, perhaps a library. If he could find one, he couldn't read any street signs of any storefronts. How was he going to find a library like this? Maybe I should find my way back to the hospital. If this place is hostile, that might be the best place, Naruto mused before glowering at a loud caw. That damn crow again. After several run-ins, Naruto knew this was the same crow. It kept coming and finding him. It had to be a summoned crow, one from the shinobi who tried chasing him. Likely meant to keep track of him, observe him. Naruto squinted, scanning for a rock to toss at the bird. Perhaps that would cause it to stop following him, or at least shut it up, maybe kill it. He wasn't sure how the crow would taste, but he was about to find out. Maybe mixed in with some ramen. He swore he smelled it around here. Hello. Naruto felt a small body bounce off him and nearly tumbled to the ground. She would have if he hadn't reached out and caught her wrist and held it steady. Ah, sorry about that. He forced a nervous smile while trying to repress his laughter, while bowing in forgiveness to the small, young... Huh? She didn't look that young. She looked about his age. That was sort of weird, and people called him short for his age. Hopefully she didn't get poked at for fun as he did, and now she was giving him the same confused stare everyone else was when they heard him talk. Great. Another incessant caw caused Naruto to twitch. The bird was really aggravating him. He didn't need the damn bird to agree with his assessment right now. Naruto blinked, seeing the tiny teenager screw her nose and glower at the crow, insisting it bugger off. He couldn't hold back a laugh and grinned. Someone else understood his plight today. At least he had one victory. He scanned the cement for a rock. He mainly found pebbles, but a few decent ones. Gathering a few in his left palm, Naruto proceeded to pitch the stones at the obnoxious demon bird. Huh? Naruto scowled at seeing the bird simply hop out of the way. No way, what the heck? Naruto knew his throw had plenty of power behind it. That stone should have hit. You think you can best me, bird? Naruto Uzumaki is the best there is and the best there ever was. You better believe it, Naruto declared, pointing at the bird defiantly before hefting another rock in the crow's direction. And it dodged again. And again! You lousy piece of a... Naruto seethed at the continual dodging before he jumped in surprise as another rock was tossed in his direction. The girl had joined him, smiling and laughing as she started to toss stones at the bird. Oh, another contender has joined the fray! You ain't besting me! Naruto grinned, his competitive spirit burning bright as he concentrated and took aim. It didn't take long. With the wave of stones thrown in the bird's general direction, Naruto finally pegged it in the gut. But it wasn't as satisfying as he hoped. It simply bounced off it. However, the lack of effect didn't deter Naruto in the slightest. He grinned cheerfully as the bird flew off to the nearby rooftop. Yada, take that, now stay away! Naruto victoriously pointed at the bird and gleamed. Sure, it didn't fly far away and was still likely around, but he would take this small victory. He had so few today. You're pretty good, you know. Naruto grinned, a laugh in his voice as he turned to the girl before stopping. She had that same confused look again. Damn it, Naruto cursed. Couldn't he just have a simple conversation with someone? Anyone. It was starting to become rather depressing. Huh, what's that? Naruto noticed the girl lift her hands and started to make motions. A small part of him was alarmed, thinking she was using hand seals. That subsided as the motions didn't look like any hand signs he knew. Wait, yes they did. Was she using code? Damn it, Naruto cursed in his mind while trying to decipher what the girl had said to him. He sorely wished he had paid more attention to Kakashi's lessons. He only paid attention to the parts he thought were useful and cool. Still, watching her signals, Kakashi's lessons paid off. He sort of understood what she said. She had asked him if he used code, so he responded. He didn't precisely remember the sign for confirmation, but he vaguely remembered what it looked like. Hopefully, she understood his answer. Why did she suddenly seem super excited? Naruto scrunched his brow, glancing down at the petite teen. She was a little weird. His face visibly flushed as his stomach roared. Damn it, his stomach betrayed him. He knew he was hungry, but he didn't need his body making noises at this moment. He was talking to a girl. Oh, Sakura would have berated him for this. Eh? Naruto felt the girl grip him by the wrist and pull him toward the food trucks. He didn't quite resist as she dragged him to the open window of the food truck. He had planned on going that direction regardless. However, he was planning on being discreet about it. He didn't have any money and didn't want anyone to notice what he was about to do. However, Naruto's curiosity got the better of him. He watched as she stood on her tippy toes, looking at the menu briefly before bringing out a small device. Something he had seen before in town, but wasn't quite sure what it was. A bunch of people were staring at the screen and talking to it. Was it a phone? If they were, these were some strange phones. And why did she poke at it with her thumbs like that? Was she typing a number in? Or could she write on them like a computer? Was it a computer too? How was it so small? The only computers he saw were those cinder block bricks the library had. The technology of this place was absurd. He was pretty sure he saw a flying device earlier, but thought he was hallucinating from hunger. Naruto's confusion only grew as the girl handed a card to the vendor, only to receive it back in a transactional manner. He didn't understand anything that was going on. Did she just make an order? She didn't even talk to do that? And what was that card? So many questions. Not enough time to get answers. He had other problems that he vitally needed answers for besides these. She was using code again. This time Naruto didn't understand anything she said, maybe a word or two in it. However, given the context of the words, he was reasonably sure she had said something along the lines of, "I ordered for both of us." Naruto could only nod and nervously laugh. If she was offering, he wasn't about to turn down free food. He was starving enough that he would even eat fruit and vegetables right now, despite how much he disliked them. Especially with how Kakashi-sensei would break into his house to leave baskets full of them on his table. Just needed to get something in his stomach. And if this got him free food, he would follow the girl's lead. Taking a seat at a nearby park bench on the opposite side of the girl, Naruto awkwardly withered. This whole situation was strange. He couldn't understand what anyone said here, and he barely knew enough code to understand what she was trying to convey. Add in the fact that she was gazing upon him expectantly. Naruto didn't know what to do. This felt like a date, but a date with someone he couldn't communicate with. He needed some sort of divine intervention to save him from this. From his own embarrassment. Naruto nervously laughed, noticing she had signed some more code to him. His nightmare came true. He didn't understand a single word in the statement she made. He was being undone by his unwillingness to learn anything that wasn't cool. Maybe Kakashi-sensei was right about needing to take things other than training more seriously. Huh? Naruto squinted upon hearing another voice off to their side. Glancing over with the girl, he noted that there were 3 confident older girls strutting their way, wearing clothing in a similar vein to that of the weird snake lady. Not as revealing, but their clothing was striking, featuring mesh stockings, dark makeup, and tattoos. With these girls trying to be punks or something? Naruto glowered. He had a bad feeling about this. He couldn't understand a lick of what they were saying, but their body language conveyed enough for him. How they puffed up their chest, used their height to stand tall and tower over them. The sound of their voice. Were they trying to bully them? Seriously? Naruto knew he had just asked for an intervention, but seriously? Did it have to be taken to this extreme? Back off, I'm warning you. Naruto slid out from under the table before he stepped in front of the boss girl of the 3, schooling his face as he looked up and met her gaze. Gah! He wished he could understand what she was saying. He had an idea, but it was agitating. Hey, I'm giving you the chance to back off. You better take it, otherwise it won't end well for you. Naruto glowered, standing unflinchingly before the 3 punks, prepared for a fight. And, oh, was he ready for a brawl when the leader poked him in his chest. He might not have had any of his equipment, but he didn't need it for jokes like these. He could take him with his arms tied behind his back. Just a few good kicks, maybe a headbutt or 2. Did the ground shake? Naruto tilted his head. It definitely did. There were cracks in the ground beneath the idiot trio's feet. Where did that come? Okay. Naruto rapidly blinked, glancing behind the punk trio before glancing back at the girl behind him. She was equally stupefied, but the glint of her eyes told him she recognized what was happening. Well, this got a lot more confusing in a hurry, Naruto exhaled. However, a slight grin adorned his lips, and he cracked his knuckles, glancing over at the spitting image of the girl behind him, flanking the trio. You ready to kick this off over there? I sure as heck am. Let's go wild. No. This couldn't be happening. Why did this have to happen? After the rough start to this day, it had finally smoothed out after she escaped the house and had a taste of freedom. Why did it shift back into a nightmare? Were Mom and Papa right all this time? Was she so unique that others would despise her? Just for being different? Trivia shrank in her seat. She could barely process what the trio of bullies was saying any longer. She was so upset. She didn't want to be this way, didn't want any of this. She just wanted a life where she was free from all of this bullshit. She just wanted... What? Trivia lifted her head, feeling the table shift. Despite the mist in her eyes, a sense of shock reverberated through her core. The boy she just met, the boy that she, for some reason beyond her comprehension, just decided to buy him a meal, just because he could talk to her in a way only her mother or doctors could. This boy, around her age, unable to speak a word in their language, confronted the bullies. For her, her eyes locked onto his back as he stood his ground defiantly. Her heart rate rapidly rose. Her stomach twisted into knots while what felt like butterflies fluttered in the void of her chest. What was this feeling? It felt wonderful. Hearts pulsed in Trivia's gaze, watching every motion in awe. This was her white knight. He finally came to save her from this horrendous fate she was forced to endure. Oh, she wanted him to take her away, but what could they do? These bullies were garnering so much attention toward them. Where was Neo when she needed her? She could cause a distraction, and they could escape together. Forever. Did the ground just shake? Neo! Perfect timing, Trivia joyously thought. Her friend had arrived at the nick of time, like a hero who arrived at the last moment. Oh, how she wished she could be her. Alas, now was not the time to be thinking in such a manner. It was time to escape. Wait, was he about to fight too? Did he just slug her in the face? Right into a furious blow from Neo? Did they just knock her out cold with a tag combo? Trivia's heart was thundering in her chest. He genuinely was her white knight. Considerate, compassionate, strong. She wanted a peek under the hood. She needed to stop reading those books she smuggled from Mama's collection. Or maybe read more of them. Neo? Trivia's eyes wavered, seeing pink shards of glass scatter from Neo's fist. She was dissolving as she had done before, but this time her glass scattered amongst the air around them. And as she completely dispersed, her essence shimmered around the boy in a photogenic manner. All before the glass fluttered too and was absorbed into Trivia. Wait, has Neo been... Trivia wavered, her eyes glistening with tears building within. Neo was a part of her all this time. She didn't have time to dwell on this thought as the cries of the two goons caused Trivia to shudder. They lunged toward her, brushing past the boy to get at her, or so they tried. They both recoiled, clutching their stomachs, and fell to their knees, coughing heavily, as they rightfully should for having two fists shoved deep into their guts. Trivia awkwardly stared at Naruto. She didn't know how to express the sensations raging through her. Her heart was racing upon seeing him. But the knowledge of what Neo was, what she had been, this was a little too much for her to digest. "What's going on over here?" An indignant voice shouted with authority. Trivia's eyes flickered, her gaze locking onto a police officer rapidly approaching the scene. Oh no! They had to run! Fast! She couldn't be caught here. Mom and Papa would learn what happened, that she left home without their consent, with Papa's credit card. Oh, the trouble she would be in. She quickly rushed to Naruto's side, grasping his wrist, ready to pull him away so they could run. They needed to escape, but her heart leapt into her throat as she felt a hand rest onto her shoulder, and saw another be placed on the boy's shoulder. She didn't dare look behind her, for fear it was another police officer. Her worst fears consumed her, and she closed her eyes, accepting her fate. "Sorry about that, officer. Left my kids here to roam around the mall for a bit. It seems like trouble found them, and they took care of it. Guess I trained them a little too well." The voice of a man chuckled from above. Trivia's gaze snapped open, and she looked behind to see a rugged, weathered man with grayish-black hair and bright crimson eyes looking sheepish, handing his scroll over to the police officer, showing him a badge. Who was this man? Why was he calling them his kids? Why was he trying to get them out of trouble? And was he a huntsman? Oh, this was so bad. Oh, it's these punks again. About time someone put them in their place. The officer stopped before them, groaned, and then glared at the three bullies before laughing. He glanced over at her and the boy as he handed the scroll back. "You got some fine kids there. I might have to pay attention for the next couple of years. Looks like we have some real talent coming through." "I do my best," the huntsman awkwardly returned the laughter, hiding a grimace underneath. "You sure do. I felt how hard those punches were from over there." The officer continued his laughter before wincing and rubbing his jawline. He then glowered, lifting the three off their feet. "All right, come along, you hear? Don't make this any more difficult on yourselves. You know the routine." "Yes, sir." All three groaned, stumbling as the officer guided them away. Trivia couldn't help but stare until they were out of sight. What just happened? Did this huntsman seriously get them out of trouble? She had so many questions, but it was all a little too much for her. Her head hurt so badly, felt like a migraine. Well, this has been a day. The huntsman released a painful groan as well, gazing down at the two of them. How about I join you for dinner? Been tracking the kid here all day since he released himself and ran from the hospital. Trivia stumbled at what the huntsman said as he jabbed his thumb toward the boy. He was in the hospital earlier today, and he still could easily slug and knock out that punk? He really was strong. Gotta say, I wasn't expecting all this to happen today, but I can't say I'm displeased at how it turned out. The huntsman sighed again, his gaze falling onto Trivia. I don't know where he's from, and unfortunately, he speaks a different language from us, as you probably noticed. Trivia shifted her attention back to the annoyed-looking boy. She pursed her lips and mused on it. She had never heard someone speak like that before. You are the first person able to communicate with this knucklehead, so I would like your help if you wouldn't mind. The huntsman asked before rubbing his chin, a sly grin gracing his features. I noticed you were fixated on that parlor. Consider dessert on me as a payment.